Currently, South Africa is the wealthiest country in Africa. Johannesburg, which is right here, is a commercial hub and is the wealthiest city on all the continent. Median income is also the highest. On average, South Africans take home a bit over 42,000. To understand why the modern state of South Africa exists, you have to go back and look at history. And something I like to say is that history and geography are interchangeable. South Africa is in an advantageous position geographically. Down here, Cape Town, also the Cape of Good Hope, is at the most southern point of Africa. It is also near the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean. Which brings us to the history. Before the British, before they were the number one power, it was the Dutch who were up here. The Dutch wanted to get goods, spices, teas, textiles, and other things from Asia. But because the Suez Canal, which they later used, which was a shorter route, if you look at here and right there, was not established until the 1800s, and this was the 1600s, they had to go from here all the way down and all the way to this area. Now, not only was South Africa and Cape Town the most southern part of the continent, it was also the halfway point between where the Dutch started and where they would end up. They used it as a pit stop. Initially, it was an area to repair their boats, get fresh water, fresh meats, fresh vegetables, things of that nature. Also, during that time, scurvy and other diseases were very prevalent due to different immune systems on different continents. It gave them time to rest and to replenish. But it was initially seen as a logistical trade hub between here and here to get to here. The Dutch did not have any plans of colonizing it, or much less making it a separate country. This happened for a while. It existed as a logistical trade hub. But then by the 1700s and the 1800s, there was a man named Napoleon that took over in France. And because France and the United Kingdom are close in proximity, geography creates history, they were at war constantly. France ended up taking over these areas right here. Well, the Dutch, they were the leaders of South Africa at the time. The British did not want it to fall into French hands because they needed to use this to go over this way to the Indian Ocean to go to India, which was the crown jewel and the biggest prize of the British Empire. Therefore, they occupied South Africa initially because of the sea route right here. This was around 1795, and then you had a few battles that were fought. And then initially, just like most of the world during that time, when the British was the number one empire, they ended up taking over that region and colonizing it and making it part of their empire. But initially, South Africa wasn't one country. You had 4 separate colonies. You had the Cape, Natal, Transvaal, and the Orange Free State. Because they thought it would be easier to govern as one state, the British formed South Africa as a state. And the reason it was named South Africa is because of the location. The new country was created in 1910, and they kind of wanted to look unbiased and say, okay, we're not siding with one colony over another. That's why they didn't name this colony the New Orange State, or they didn't name it Natal after one of the other colonies. And that's why, long story short, yet other instances, but I'm not going to spend over 3 hours, but that's why the modern state of South Africa exists, the history of its colonization, and how geography and history are interchangeable. And the very world today that we are in is shaped by both interchangeably.